This story begins with a woman named Hope Adler talking on the phone at Alpine Lake, a youth camp in the mountains. She tells the person on the other end of the line that she's having strange dreams about 7 numbers she saw written on the ice. She asks if the person she's talking to is also in Colorado and insists on knowing who it is, but it seems they stopped listening to her. Later, we see Finney in a fight at school. He justifies it by saying the other kid started it. When his sister Gwen arrives, Finney explains that the new kid called him the brave one who killed the killer and told him he wasn't so tough. Although Gwen is doubtful, Finney confirms it. When she asks why he hit him so hard, Finney replies that in those situations, the more blood, the better for the crowd, because it proves he's stronger. Gwen thinks he should change that attitude. Just then, Ernesto arrives and congratulates Finney on the beatdown. He says hi to Gwen and tells her he's going to the Civic Center to line up for Duran Duran concert tickets. Gwen mentions she'd like to go, but they're expensive. Ernesto invites her, saying he was planning to buy 2 tickets anyway to go with a friend who's a fan. Gwen, excited, accepts. When Ernesto leaves, Finney tells Gwen it was clearly a date. She denies it at first, but then asks what would be wrong with that. Finney admits he doesn't like Ernesto. Gwen doesn't understand why, since she thinks he's cute, and reminds Finney that Robin, Ernesto's deceased brother, would want him to look out for him. Finney replies sharply that looking out for him doesn't mean Ernesto gets to take his sister on a date. That night, the kid's father says goodnight to Finney and asks him not to stay up too late. Alone, Finney has a vision of the grabber, the killer, warning him that if he tries to touch him, he'll rip his face off. Gwen appears and asks if he's okay. Finney pushes her away, saying she can't understand what he feels, and leaves. Later that night, Finney finds Gwen sleepwalking in the hallway, completely frozen. He carries her back to her bed. Gwen insists she had a nightmare, but Finney just tells her to calm down and go to sleep. The next day at school, a classmate calls Gwen a witch. Later, she meets up with Ernesto, who comments that he's noticed Gwen's interest in horror, hauntings, and visions. Gwen confirms it. Ernesto then gives her a gift, a loteria game. He explains that his grandmother sells them and that they're like tarot cards. If you know how to read them, they can teach you things. He asks if she knows about that since he's heard her dreams teach her things. Gwen, surprised, asks who told him that. Ernesto says it was his parents. They told him the rumor that the police received an anonymous tip about where Robin's body was, and that it was supposedly Gwen who had dreamed it. Gwen gets uncomfortable and admits it's very weird. Ernesto, trying to cheer her up, tells her he likes weird. That night, Gwen has another nightmare and sleepwalks to the grabber's abandoned house. She goes into the basement and answers the ringing black phone. It's the same call from the beginning. Hope Adler's voice introduces herself. Gwen introduces herself too. Hope asks where she's calling from, and Gwen answers, Alpine Lake. Hope asks who gave her that number. Gwen says, some kids who are underwater. Hope gets upset, saying she dreamed the same thing. But in her dreams, the kids wrote letters. Before hanging up, Hope warns Gwen that she shouldn't be there. Just then, Finney wakes her up. Gwen is disoriented, feeling like she's going crazy. Finney explains that she sleepwalked there and he had to follow her. Gwen swears to him that she answered the phone and spoke to their mother. Finney insists it was just a dream, but Gwen asserts that even though she was dreaming, it was real. It was their mother calling from a camp. Finney tells her they should go. As they leave, they see graffiti on the wall. The grabber burns in hell. Days later, Gwen shows Finney a brochure for the youth camp where their mother called from, insisting they have to go. Finney repeats that it was just a dream, but Gwen tells him the camp exists, a Christian camp near Silverthorne that's looking for counselors in training. She wants Finney to sign up, but he refuses to go to a weird camp. Gwen insists, reminding him their father told him he had to work and that they'll pay him there. Their father, Terrence, walks in and asks why they're arguing. Hearing Alpine Lake, he's surprised and reveals that their mother worked there long before she met him, though the place closed in 1958. He asks how they found out, and Gwen quickly lies, saying her classmates told her. The father reiterates that he's not into religious stuff. Later, Gwen tells Finney that their mom worked there, proving she's not crazy. Finney assures her he would never say that. Ernesto has arrived in his car to pick up Gwen. Gwen's father gives Ernesto warnings about speeding. Finney, seeing that Gwen is going anyway, decides to go too to look after him. Before leaving, he asks his father not to get drunk, Their father gets upset, reminding him that he's getting his 3-year sobriety chip in 2 weeks. Finney says goodbye and leaves with Gwen and Ernesto. During the drive, they're caught in a heavy snowstorm that blocks their visibility. Finney warns of the danger of falling into a ravine and tells Ernesto to stop the car. He decides to run in front of the vehicle to guide them. As they're moving like this, they are found by a woman on horseback, Mustang. She shouts that she found the lost counselors and leads them to a man named Armando. Armando knows they are the Blakes and explains that the road is closed. They are the only ones who didn't get the notice in time. Finney asks about the rest of the kids, but Armando informs them that the camp was canceled due to the snow and the roads won't be cleared anytime soon. They are trapped. Only the 3 of them and the support staff made it. He takes them to their cabins. Gwen gets worried knowing she'll be sleeping alone. Mustang explains that the law requires separating underage boys and girls and that although her cabin is nearby, she can't stay with her since she isn't a registered counselor. That night, Finney is smoking by a makeshift campfire when he suddenly hears the cabin's payphone ring. Irritated, Finney walks over, answers it, and hangs up. But the phone immediately rings again. Finney answers again, asking who is on the other end of the line. At the same time, Gwen, in her separate cabin, hears noises from under her bed. When she slowly bends down to look, she sees the pale body of a dead boy watching her. Back with Finney, a voice whispers his name on the phone, and the cabin door slams shut. While Finney is being tormented, Gwen is attacked by visions of the dead children. The phone rings again in Finney's ear, and the voice tells him in an icy tone that in hell, there are no flames, only ice. Finney, paralyzed by fear, manages to escape and runs toward his sister's cabin. Just as he hears her scream, he bursts in and hugs her tightly until she calms down. Later, a frightened Gwen moves into the boys' cabin and asks Ernesto to sleep with her, just to feel safe. While Ernesto falls asleep, Gwen stays awake and whispers a prayer, asking Jesus not to let her dream again. Ernesto wakes up and tells her he heard her praying. He confesses that he finds it sexy that she asked Jesus for things, explaining that his mother is Catholic and would love it if the girl he dated was devout. Gwen smiles shyly and mentions that her mother was also Christian, but she was the one who passed down the nightmares that, she says, drove her crazy. Gwen confesses she's afraid the same thing will happen to her. Ernesto reassures her, saying she's stronger than that. She asks if he doesn't think she's weird, but he replies that he likes weird. Gwen admits she thinks about her mother every day and remembers she was beautiful. Ernesto looks at her tenderly and tells her that she is beautiful too. Just as they are about to kiss, Finney abruptly interrupts the scene. Finney, annoyed, tells Ernesto to leave so he can talk to Gwen alone. However, Ernesto informs him that Gwen has already told him everything. Finney, incredulous, looks at his sister, and Ernesto confirms he knows why they came. Because of the calls, the nightmares, and the visions. Finney gets furious with Gwen, reprimanding her for trusting him. She defends herself, saying she had no one else to talk to, since Finney never wants to hear about her dreams. To prove it's real, Gwen shows Finney a burn on her arm, explaining that one of the boys grabbed her in her dream and hurt her in real life. Before Finney can react, Armando calls them for breakfast. During breakfast, Armando asks them what they're really doing at the camp, since none of them mentioned belonging to a church when they registered. Finney and Gwen decide to tell the truth and explain that their mother, Hope Adler, worked there. Armando remembers her immediately when they mentioned her nickname, Starlight, saying she was a woman full of light. He is devastated to learn that she took her own life. He tells them to finish eating and call their family from the office. Finney asks if the payphone outside works, but Armando laughs, saying that phone has been dead for over 10 years. As soon as Armando leaves, Finney tells Gwen and Ernesto that the phone did ring last night and that he thinks it was the Raptor. Just then, the phone rings again. Finney tells the other two to go to the office to call their father while he goes to answer the call. Finney picks up the phone and hears the voices of 3 children. They tell him they are very cold in a dark place. Finney asks them to remember how they died so he can help them, but they insist they don't remember, only that something very bad happened to them. They beg him to find them. Meanwhile, back in the city, their father, Terrence, borrows a snowplow and heads out to find them. Gwen and Ernesto go to the office and ask the woman in charge, Barbara, about the camp's history. Barbara sternly just gives them a brochure. Ernesto presses, asking about the rumors of dead kids. Barbara becomes indignant and tells them not to talk about it, quoting the Bible about thinking of things that are lovely. Gwen counters using the same quote, reminding her it also mentions what is true and just. Barbara, furious, kicks them out, saying it's a Christian camp, not a ghost tour. That night, Gwen has a nightmare where she sees her mother, Hope, in the past, talking on the phone, followed by visions of dismembered bodies. She wakes up screaming. Simultaneously, Finney hears the phone ring and wakes up Ernesto. Gwen, sleepwalking, gets up and follows the specters of the children. Finney tells Ernesto to find her and look after her while he answers the call. Ernesto runs out. Finney picks up the phone and a familiar voice greets him. It's the Raptor. Finney asks what he wants. The Raptor replies that he finally remembered him. Finney, trembling, insists that he's dead, but the Raptor scoffs, saying dead is just a word and that he couldn't let that be the end. Although Finney denies being afraid of him, the Raptor reminds him that fear is just the beginning. The killer reveals he's seeking revenge. He blames Finney for forcing him to kill his own brother, the person he loved most, and that afterward, Finney killed him. The Raptor vows to destroy Finney by hurting everything he loves. While Finney is frozen on the phone, Ernesto runs to Gwen's cabin but doesn't find her. Screams lead him to the kitchen where he sees her in a trance. The Raptor begins his attack. The others, Armando, Mustang, Kenneth, and Barbara, come running, and although they can't see the killer, they witness Gwen being thrown through the air and slammed against the walls by an invisible force. Barbara screams that Gwen is possessed, but Gwen yells back at her to shut up. The Raptor tries to drag her toward a lit incinerator, but Finney arrives just in time, causing the spirit to vanish and Gwen to fall to the floor. Everyone gathers in the chapel, shaken. Armando admits that while he's seen strange things, never anything like this. He asks Gwen to describe her dreams. She details the 3 missing boys: Felix, Spike, who wrote something on the ice before being dismembered, and Calvin, who was thrown into the furnace. Armando, pale, confirms the police found remnants of Calvin's jacket. Armando asks about the Raptor, and Finney confesses that he killed him. Gwen explains that their mother called her in a dream to get them to come, and that the attacking spirit is the Raptor. Armando shows an old photograph from the camp's final year. He points out a young Armando and the kid's mother, Hope, who they called Starlight. He explains that he bought the camp after the original owner died, promising to keep searching for the children. Finney looks at the photo and recognizes the Raptor among the staff. Armando identifies him as Bill, a maintenance man nicknamed Wild Bill Hickok. Gwen understands that the initials from her dreams, which the boys wrote on the ice, match that name. Finney deduces that the hauntings began in 1978, the year he killed the Raptor, freeing his spirit. They conclude that the Raptor's spirit feeds on the fear of his trapped victims. Gwen insists the bodies are underwater in a frozen lake. Armando confirms that Bill was an excellent skater and used to use Maru Lake for hockey, a place with ice-cutting tools. They all decide to go to Maru Lake at dawn to find the bodies. That night, Finney steps out to smoke, and Armando approaches him. He takes the cigarette, telling him that weed is prohibited, and speaks to him frankly. Armando tells him he recognizes Finney's anger, but that behind the rage is just fear. He assures him his real fear isn't hell, but not being able to protect his sister, and advises him to face his pain. Finney admits the Raptor wants to kill Gwen just to hurt him. Back in the cabin, Finney and Ernesto take turns watching Gwen. Finney warns his sister that if they can't wake her, she will have to face the Raptor, reminding her it's her dream and she's in control. During the first watch, Ernesto asks if it's true he spoke to Robin in the basement. Finney confirms it and shares that Robin told him his father didn't come back from Vietnam because he didn't abandon his comrades, and he wouldn't abandon Finney either. Gwen falls asleep, and her dream transports her to the past. She sees her mother, Hope, who also had dreams about Billy Showalter, the first victim, and had discovered Bill was the killer. Gwen watches in horror as the Raptor appears to Hope and murders her, making it look like a suicide. The Raptor turns to Gwen in the dream, tells her that hell is a void where only sins remain, and attacks her, cutting her hand. In the real world, the wound appears on Gwen's hand. Finney and Ernesto desperately try to wake her. In the dream, Gwen sees Armando find a body in the lake before the Raptor shoves him into the icy water. Finney yells at her to fight back. Gwen, remembering she has power in her dreams, just like Finney in the basement, confronts the Raptor, shatters the dream's phone booth, and wakes up screaming Armando's name. They all run to the lake and manage to pull Armando out just in time, saving his life. Just then, their father Terrence arrives in the snowplow, having heard they were trapped. Finney, terrified, tells him they have to leave because the Raptor wants to kill Gwen. She refuses. She confronts Finney, accusing him of running from his trauma by smoking, just like their father ran by drinking. Finney breaks down, yelling about the panic he lived through and how he just wants to stop being afraid. Gwen hugs him, calling him the bravest person she knows. She then reveals the truth to their father. Their mother didn't kill herself. The Raptor murdered her because she had figured him out through her dreams. Terrence, impacted, decides to stay and help them. They return to the lake, having not found the other two bodies. Gwen, exhausted, lies down. Finney and Ernesto realize she fell asleep on purpose to confront the Raptor. In the dream, the Raptor appears, skating on the ice, and attacks. While Terrence dives into the icy water to retrieve the bodies, the Raptor chokes Finney in the real world. The killer tells Gwen she's all alone. "I'm not," she replies. At that moment, the spirits of the three freed boys grab the Raptor. This allows Finney, in the real world, to grab the invisible spirit. Gwen rips the Raptor's mask off in the dream. Finney smashes his head against the ice, repeating that hell is ice. The ghost children drag the Raptor under the water, trapping him. Gwen wakes up and kisses Ernesto. Terrence emerges from the water with the bodies. Armando calls the boys' families to inform them they've been found. As they prepare to leave, Gwen hears the payphone ring one last time. Finney hears nothing. Gwen answers and hears her mother's voice. Hope tells her she's in a beautiful place and is proud of her for saving the children. Gwen asks if she'll always have this curse. Hope assures her it's a gift. Before hanging up, Hope asks her to tell Finney she loves him and that Robin says hello. Gwen hangs up crying and gives Finney the message. Terrence hugs them both and the three of them get in the vehicle to go home.